Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Sorry, I'm replacing your main teacher because he pulled a muscle in his back and he is just in pain at the moment. So I hope I will be covering his position, inshallah. So I just want to speak about something that is crucial in our life, which is the source of every disobedience, indifference, and passion is self-satisfaction. Whereas the source of every obedience, vigilance, and virtue is dissatisfaction with oneself. It is better for you to keep company with an ignorant man, dissatisfied with himself, than to keep company with a learned man, satisfied with himself. For what knowledge is there in a self-satisfied scholar, and what ignorance is there in an unlearned man, dissatisfied with himself? So this statement speaks about the origin of every disobedience. Is one, which is that a person is satisfied from himself. So if the person is happy from what he is doing, then all the disobedience will come. The believers at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they used to be always scared. One of the companions was saying, I met 30 people of Badr. Badr people were guaranteed Jannah. As the Prophet ﷺ said, what do you think about Allah? Looked at the people of Badr and said, do what you want, I forgive you. So the people who participated in Badr actually were given the forgiveness. Yet the companion said, I met 30 of the people of Badr, all of them are scared. You will find the person of them at the highest level of taqwa, piety, and he is scared that he is not fulfilling his duty. And he is scared that he is a hypocrite. And that's where they will be doing the maximum while they are scared. So, the disbeliever, as Allah mentioned in the Quran, in Surah Al-Kahf, about the two who were arguing about the garden, the disbeliever of them said what? وَلَئِنْ رُدِدتُّ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي لَأَجِدَنَّ خَيْرًا مِنْهَا مُنْقَلَبًا. If I'm going to Allah, Allah will give me better than what He gave me in this dunya. The believer, Allah said about them, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ. Those who do whatever they can and their hearts are scared. This is the difference between the person who has disobedience or has satisfaction of himself and the person who has no satisfaction of himself. So here, that statement is saying to us that the core essence of every disobedience is coming from our satisfaction of ourselves. The believer will do all the good deeds and he's scared. The hypocrite will do bad deeds and he is feeling safety. If Allah is merciful, I should be fine. So, when the person is satisfied from himself, that's where he will start doing the sins and he will not worry about it. So, it is very important to understand that our satisfaction from ourselves is one of the key reasons why we sin. If we are sinning, we know that we are satisfied from ourselves. That's why it is important for us to look at our defects, our bad manners, our heart diseases. It is important for us to watch ourselves. I did this. How did I feel? I did a mistake. How did I feel? I sinned. How did I feel? I did not wake up for Fajr. How did I feel? I did not pray Sunnah. How did I feel? If I did not feel any problem with what I have done, then there is definitely a problem in me because I'm satisfied. People nowadays, they try to give training courses about being content, being satisfied with everything that you do. This is very dangerous. Being content with what Allah gives you is okay. But being content and satisfied with what you are doing is very dangerous. Because it will lead you to sinning. How? If I'm satisfied from myself that I'm okay, I'm waking up even after the sun rises and I'm praying Fajr after the sunrise, and I'm okay with it. Now this is a sin. It's actually, I'm not praying on time. I'm praying after the time of Fajr. This is a sin. If I am not finding in my heart any regret that I have done this, then I am satisfied from my act. So that will lead me to do other sins as well. So it will become like a series of things that I will be involved in. If I'm not praying the Sunnah of Fajr, or I'm not praying Duha, or I'm not praying the Sunnah of Dhuhr, or I'm not praying the Sunnah of Maghrib, or I'm not praying the Witr, and I don't feel that regret, meaning that I'm satisfied from what I'm doing. If I am satisfied from what I am doing, that's where I am risking myself to go within the hypocrites. As we said before, hypocrites will do their maximum and will think negatively about themselves. Whereas hypocrites will do a little bit and will think positively about themselves. Whereas believers will do the maximum and will think negatively about themselves. Hypocrites will think positively on, I'm doing well. I'm doing good. Even though it's small, but I'm doing good. But the believers will do a lot and they will say, I haven't done anything. Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَلَا تَمْنُنْ تَسْتَكْثِرْ. And do not show off what you have done and think you are doing a lot. Allah is speaking to whom? The Prophet ﷺ. What you have done, don't think that you have done something big. Allah is telling the Prophet ﷺ about that. Look at us. What have we done compared to what Allah, the Prophet ﷺ has done? Yet we think that, we are doing well. We are doing good. When the person is content from himself, satisfied from himself, he will not accept advice. If you advise him, because he is satisfied that he's doing well. So that's a bad sign that I am in the second category, which are those who are satisfied from themselves and going in the wrong direction. Whereas the believer is always alerted. If someone advises him, he will think, I need to think about it. I need really to consider it. I need to act upon it. He's always asking to improve himself. Whereas the satisfied person of himself, he feels that he's doing well. Why are you advising me? I'm doing well. I don't feel that I am lacking anything. As we said, the believer will do the good and he will not be happy from himself. Hypocrites will be doing the bad and he will be happy from it. So in order to start, the person needs to be dissatisfied from his own self. So when the person is not satisfied, I'm not satisfied from myself with the amount I'm spending with the Quran. So he will try to put plans. I'm not satisfied from myself with the amount of my readings. I don't read Islamic books a lot. He will put plans. So dissatisfaction will cause the person to always feel that guilt. I'm behind. I need to improve. Whereas satisfaction of myself with what I'm doing with the Quran will lead me to be okay. I'm not feeling anything wrong. So that's the balance. Sometimes the person will say, I'm not satisfied from myself, but it will not lead him to progress. That means he's saying with his tongue that he's not satisfied from himself, but he's practicing it. So internally he's okay. Externally he might be, oh, I'm bad, I need to read more Quran, I need to do better, I need to do more in this or more in that. But he's not putting any effort, meaning that he's satisfied actually. But he's saying that with his tongue. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, however, the deeds of 2 days are equal for him, فهو مغبون. من تساوى عمل يومه فهو مغبون. If I'm doing good deeds today, and I did good deeds tomorrow, and they are equal, I'm maghboon. Maghboon is like you don't want to be in his position. He's in a bad position. That's to say what? We need always to be dissatisfied from ourselves in order to do what? Progress. So that's the key behind all of that. But if the person says, I'm fine, I'm doing well, yeah, my relationship with Allah is good, I'm okay, I don't do bad, I'm okay, I'm not sinning. That's satisfaction of oneself. That's dangerous. Because that will lead the person to go astray. Slowly, shaitan will play. Yeah, you are doing well. Slowly, you will reduce the good deeds. Slowly, some sins will come. And this is the footsteps of shaitan. And when the person is satisfied from himself, he will not accept the advice from people. So he will become arrogant. And that's the next step that shaitan plays on. As soon as the person is satisfied from himself, people are advising him, you are wrong. Say, no, I'm not wrong. That becomes the definition of arrogance. Which is, al-kibru, batar al-haq, wa ghamtu al-nas. Al-kibr, arrogance, is rejecting the truth and looking down at people. Rejecting the truth, I'm doing bad. But I'm satisfied from myself. Someone comes to me and says, Hani, you are doing bad. I say, no, I'm not doing bad. That's the truth. I'm rejecting it. So, that's arrogance. So the satisfaction of oneself will lead us to become what? Arrogant. And the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يدخل الجنة من في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. No one will enter Jannah if in his heart an atom seed of arrogance. So this is how dangerous the arrogance is. So, satisfaction from oneself leads to arrogance. Arrogance leads that the person is prohibited from entering Jannah. This is how dangerous is satisfaction from oneself. The other thing is that when the person is satisfied from himself, sin becomes a small thing. I'm sitting here, it's alright, I'm doing other stuff as well. So the big things are covering the small things. Allah will forgive. That's fine. That's satisfaction from oneself. So it will lead that the person becomes belittling the sin. looking at the sin as it's okay. He's not going to say it's okay. But how do we know practically that the person is belittling the sin or looking at the sin as a small thing? When he sins, he doesn't take the steps to regret and repent. You feel, for example, when people first come to Australia and see whatever they see in the streets, they will be very upset, they will be very anxious because of seeing this or seeing that in the street. They will be always feeling their hearts are crumbling. Slowly, it becomes normal. What happened? He started becoming satisfied with the situation. So, the person becomes going towards the sin. And while he is satisfied, he's looking at, walking in the street, seeing something wrong, turn your face and continue. Satisfied. This is how dangerous being satisfied of oneself or the situation is. If the person knows Allah Azza wa Jal, he will never ever be satisfied from himself. He will never ever be satisfied from what he contributes or he does from an Islamic perspective. The person with his heedlessness and satisfaction of himself feels that Allah is not going to do anything to me. I'm doing the sin, but I know that Allah is merciful. He will not do it. And that's a practical thing. How? If I'm sinning and continuing my life normal, as if I'm saying what? I know I sin. I know that this is disliked by Allah Azza wa Jal. I know Allah will not do anything to me. So what is this leading me to? Allah said in the Quran, فَلَا يَأْمَنُ مَكْرَ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْخَاسِرُونَ. Nobody will feel himself safe from Allah except the losers. So if I'm satisfied from myself, I will feel safe, but Allah will not do anything. Allah said in the Quran, the only ones who will feel that are the losers. So if I'm content with what I'm doing, I'm satisfied that I'm a good Muslim, Allah said, I'm a loser. And continuation of following desires is a sign of satisfaction from oneself. If I'm continuing with my desires, following the sin after the sin, that means I am satisfied from what I'm doing, even though it's a sin. The love of being praised, the love of being recognized, the love of being on the front line, the love of sitting at the VIP table, the love of being treated better than the others. All of this is because I'm satisfied from myself and I want people to treat me based on that. So being satisfied from oneself is the source and origin of every disobedience, indifference, and passion. So when the person is not satisfied from himself, he's always awake, alert. What can I do better? How can I progress in my life, especially with my relationship with Allah Azza wa Jal? He's always trying to get rid of his desires. He's alerted. He's not satisfied. No, I'm not doing well. I need to do better. As we said, one of the companions said, I met 30 people who participated in Badr. None of them is satisfied from himself. Then the second part says to you, as it is important for you to get rid of that satisfaction of yourself, satisfaction of what you are doing, it is important for you as well not to accompany someone who is satisfied from himself. So if you see someone who is satisfied from himself, stay away. Why? As he says, it is better for you to keep company with an ignorant man or an ignorant person, dissatisfied with himself, than to keep company with a learned man, someone who is a scholar, but satisfied with himself, satisfied with what he is doing, satisfied with his contribution, satisfied with his practice. Why? Because for what knowledge is there in a self-satisfied scholar? Even if he's a scholar, but he's happy with his contribution. He's happy with his practice. He's happy what he is doing. What knowledge he has? He has no knowledge. If he is a scholar and he is getting in his mind all of these books, but he's satisfied from himself, he's not a scholar. And what ignorance is there in an unlearned man, someone who is not a scholar, who doesn't have all of these books in his head, but he is dissatisfied from himself. Because as we said, all the companions were dissatisfied from themselves. All the companions were actually thinking negatively about themselves, and they are trying to become better. So here, the second part is telling us, stay away from these people who are satisfied from what they are doing, because they are dangerous. They are going to lead you to be satisfied from yourself. And so satisfaction from oneself will lead us to many things. Who can remind us with what can it lead us to?
Arrogance.
Arrogance. When? Because he will stop receiving advice. Why are you advising me? I'm doing well. He will stop. So arrogance. And if you reach arrogance, no Jannah. Satisfaction from oneself will lead to sinning. And the person will sin and sin and sin. And he's okay because that's fine. I'm doing well. Satisfaction from oneself will lead to greed or pride. Pride, asking for recognition, asking to be recognized for what he is contributing. That's satisfaction from oneself. Satisfaction from oneself will lead to the person going downhill because he's satisfied from what he's doing. He doesn't want to progress. He doesn't need to progress. So all of these bad things are in the person who is satisfied from himself. So I don't want to be that man, and I don't want him to be my friend. I clearly don't want to be around people who are satisfied from their own selves. Because that person is going to get you in him, and he will start convincing you that don't worry, you are doing well. Don't worry, you are fine. If someone, for example, going to McDonald's and eating McDonald's, and he's not finding anything wrong with it, he's satisfied from himself. So what will he do? If you accompany him, he will start, what's wrong with McDonald's? There's nothing wrong to eat from McDonald's. I go and eat with, I'm not doing something wrong. So what will happen slowly? He's satisfied from his act, from himself, so he will lead you there. It will become at least norm for you to be there. Like for example, people who are eating from Burger King and they say there is halal sign. They have a halal sign for some of these burgers. You say to them, oh, okay, they themselves said, we do not guarantee cross-contamination with ham during our cooking. It will happen. Okay, so what's happening with your burger, with your meat, with your whatever? Even though the source is halal, they're saying that they're bringing from halal source, but it's contaminated. No, it's alright, I'm good, it's halal, I will eat it. Then he will not stop at that. He will start pulling you aside. Come, let's go and eat. There's nothing wrong with it. He's satisfied from himself. And that's why, who said, لترك دانق من شبهة خير لي من تصدق 100,000 درهم. To leave an amount of, like a hair amount of suspicious thing is better than to donate $100,000. Why? There is something that is suspicious. You are not comfortable. As soon as you get any suspicious, you become just satisfied from yourself. I'm doing good. So as soon as you get to there, it will be the downhill. But when you leave that amount of doubtful matter, no, I don't want to go there. It's doubtful. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not satisfied to do something like this. And you feel that regret, then that is where you go for progression. I want to be better and better and better. And that's better for all of us. As we are ourselves supposed to get ourselves out of that, being satisfied from ourselves, it is important that we have around ourselves an environment that is filled by that, filled by this satisfaction of oneself. That's why, for example, if someone did an event, planned, and the event was successful, and people attended, and it was beautifully appearing, and mashallah, lots of people, and all the goals were met, and very well organized, and the person becomes satisfied from himself. Yes, I've done well. Well, that is the start of the disaster. You are setting yourself to go downhill. You cannot be satisfied from anything that is done by your hand, because that's from Allah. You cannot be happy and say, it was a successful event. So you are satisfied from yourself. This is the source of each sin. To be satisfied from what you are doing. That's why we need to create that environment around us. What environment? The clean environment of people who are dissatisfied with themselves. They do the maximum and they still feel, I haven't done anything. I still have a long way to go. And this is the Rabbaniyah that was mentioned in the Quran. The person that is always linked to Allah. And this is how Allah will be with us and will grant us success and will grant us all the perfections when we are always dissatisfied from what we are doing. We will not get success for Islam or for ourselves if we are satisfied from ourselves. If we don't look about our disease, I have a disease here, I need to fix. I have a disease in my heart, I need to check on that. Because if the person doesn't look for his diseases, his defects, he's satisfied with what he is doing. But the person who is dissatisfied with what he is doing, he's always looking for his diseases to perfect himself, to fix the problems in himself. The Prophet ﷺ once said, يرى أحدكم القذاة في عين أخيه ولا يرى النخلة في عينه. One of you will look and find the small dirt in his brother's eye. Oh brother, I advise you, for the sake of Allah, there is a problem in your behavior. You need to fix yourself. Where that he doesn't find the tree log in his eye. That's the Prophet ﷺ saying. So it's more important for me, instead of looking at the defects of the people, is to watch my heart. I was in a situation where someone praised me and I got happy. Why am I happy? Am I satisfied from myself? Oh, that's a disease. I need to fix that disease. Don't worry about the others. I'm concerned about myself now, to fix my problems, not the problems of the others.
No.
And the other thing is that when you accompany someone who is ignorant, but he is dissatisfied from himself, he is going to help you in becoming dissatisfied from yourself, either by his actions or by his advice. And ignorance with people are types. It's complex ignorance and simple ignorance. Simple ignorance, someone who is ignorant and he knows that he's ignorant. So he's always seeking to learn. He's always seeking to progress. That's good. An ignorant that doesn't know that he's an ignorant, this is a complex ignorance. And this is where the person becomes satisfied from himself. Because he's an ignorant and he doesn't know that he's an ignorant. So he's always satisfied from what he's doing. Even if it's small, even if it's big, he's satisfied. So, the knowledge in Islam is being weighed by this scale. Who is the knowledgeable person? The one that is dissatisfied from himself. Who is the ignorant? The one who is satisfied from himself, even if he memorized all the books. Doesn't count. Because his satisfaction of himself will lead him to be cancelling his good deeds. His good deeds will be cancelled because of that satisfaction of himself. So, the person, as a takeaway message, needs to focus on himself, look always for his defects, be tough on himself, leave the others to Allah Azza wa Jal, don't look at them and their defects, but look for the company. Don't accompany someone who is satisfied from himself. Try to find someone who is always dissatisfied from himself and always try his best to become better. That's the company. Someone who thinks that he is doing well, stay away from that person. جزاكم الله خير وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Anyone has any question? Nowadays they give trainings about, yes, you are good. You are the best. You have done good job. Yes, otherwise your leadership style is wrong. If you don't do all of that and you say to everyone, you are fantastic. What's fantastic? You have a long way to go. If you say to him, you are fantastic, he will sit down on the chair. Yes, I've done it. But Allah said to us in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْتُونَ مَا آتَوْا وَقُلُوبُهُمْ وَجِلَةٌ. They do lots. They are scared. This is what Allah wants from us. Not this new style of the modern way of dealing with people and ruining their intentions and ruining their progress and so on. Alright, anyone has any question?